We've got a few minutes before the second halves in all those 7 o'clock starts get underway, so I think it's only right that finally we've had about an hour now to digest what's been happening in this rapidly changing situation with the European Super League proposed on Sunday night, and it seems 48 hours later on the verge of collapse. Let's just remind you what we know. We know that Manchester City are close to pulling out now, and Chelsea are also following suit. There's been protests outside Stamford Bridge ahead of their game with Brighton tonight. Hundreds of Chelsea fans showing their displeasure at Chelsea's willingness to sign up for the European Super League. The two sides from England we heard were most reluctant to agree, that the word was at the weekend, were Chelsea and Manchester City, and it seems they are the first two to withdraw from their participation. Let's see what the panel make of it all. Tim, let's start with you. Obviously, we await concrete confirmation, and I mentioned before, legal documents have been signed. This could take some time, but what do you make of what you're hearing?
Like I thought from the outset, it's not just a cup of tea around the table. They've been having these conversations for a very, very long time, put a lot of time and effort into it. What a waste of time and effort. This is dead in the water. It's a non-starter. Chelsea have shown everyone the way. Man City have followed suit. And they all... What time we got now? Well, 8 o'clock. By the time we're off air at 10 o'clock, there'll be about 5 teams left in it. It will not happen. It's finished. Football people don't want it. Fans don't want it. Players don't want it. Managers don't want it. The decision makers decide that they've got every right to want to better their clubs, go for the finance. But it was the wrong move. There's nothing wrong with our product. We've got the best product in the world, the Premier League. Other leagues, they're looking for something better. They thought this was the gold at the end of the rainbow. Unfortunately, you cannot use the Premier League to better yourself. We have got the best product. Everyone else needs to get in tune with us. We don't need it. We don't want it. It won't happen.
And it's looking less and less likely to happen now. Darren, with the news we're receiving, obviously any more developments we'll bring it to you. Were you as convinced as Tim that this was not going to get off the ground?
At times, certainly. But obviously, as the reports kind of grumbled on, you thought they might actually do it. But it's today, hopefully, more clubs, as Tim said, will follow suit. But football wins at the end of the day, and it shows. I mean, if we all come together as kind of one and all push something in the same direction, there's no reason why we can't. As I think Patrick Bamford spoke about yesterday, the racism, you know what I mean? All these different issues that we've got, the social injustice, all this, if you come together, look how powerful football is as a collective one. So, but it's at the end of the day, it's fantastic. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of backlash in terms of these teams at first accepting their invite into the league. But listen, at the end of the day, Chelsea, superb, Abramovich, obviously Manchester City and their owners have come to the right conclusion, which is, as Tim said there, the Premier League is the best league in the world. There was nothing wrong with the Champions League. We love that. If you're the best team in the Premier League, you finish in the top 4, rightly so. You earn your right to get into the Champions League. So at the end of the day, I'm delighted that obviously 2 teams out of the 12 hours started to come around, and hopefully we'll see the rest of the English clubs do the same.
Let's bring in Sue Smith on this one. Sue, what do you think, if this is true and these clubs are pulling out, what do you think has made them change their mind?
I think just the absolute backlash, the negativity from everybody linked with football, whether it was the fans, the managers, the players. Nobody wanted this, and I think the fact that everybody did come together and spoke about it, I think, is a real powerful tool, and it just shows that can happen if you want change, if people come together and say what they're feeling, which everybody did. And I'm just so pleased that it has, and you know, I've got to agree with what Tim said, the fact that 2 have pulled out now. I think by the end of the night there'll be a lot more following suit. I hope so anyway, and yeah, it's just a good thing to see, because I think we were all... When we heard the news on Sunday night, we were all a bit fearful that this could actually happen, because there's been grumblings about this for a while, and something was going to happen, and you just worry that could have actually happened. But the fact everyone's come out, stuck together, and yeah, it's a positive outcome, nearly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, still a lot to be done, but it does sound that it's going that way. Let's bring Neil Lennon in on this. Neil, interesting to get your take. Firstly, on what you thought of the whole concept anyway, particularly with your former Celtic manager's hat on, the fact that the 2 old firm clubs with 100-plus league titles between them didn't even get an invite.
Yeah, and it can't be a Super League anyway without the likes of PSG, Bayern Munich, your Benficas. Look, this has been a concept that's been talked about for a long, long time. But just the manner in which it was, brought out publicly, and the fact that there was going to be no relegation, it just, was a non-starter for me. And I don't think the owners of these clubs who, are dominated by money and, power, have really got a depth of feeling of, people around the world in Europe, particularly here in Britain, of how much football means to them, not only for their own clubs, but, the game as a whole in the UK. And already we're seeing, clubs backtracking because, at the minute it's a complete embarrassment for them.
As we were hearing from Neil then, just received some information from Sky News, who understand, listen to this, that Ed Woodward, who was one of the driving forces, of course, at Manchester United behind this new Super League, Ed Woodward has stepped down as executive vice chairman of Manchester United. This is just reaching us from Sky News. Ed Woodward has stepped down as executive vice chairman of Manchester United. You should see the faces to my left here. Well, you can see them now stunned. I mean, Tim, you shake your head. What do you make of that?
It probably feels like his job. He's pushed so much time and effort into this, with the Glazer family, that his job is untenable at the moment. I mean, the backlash from the fans. I don't think he's the most popular man in town anyway. Commercially, he does a fantastic job, but he's, at Manchester United, you don't have to be a mastermind to be able to be very good at commercial deals at Manchester United Football Club. He's obviously gone heavy and pushed this one forward. It's not materialised, and he feels like his position is untenable, and I would have to agree.
It does feel like dominoes. This is just tipping down one after the other now, doesn't it? And this is going to develop as the evening goes on and into tomorrow. Darren, I just wonder what you think this is going to now mean, assuming this all does disappear as quickly as it arrived. What's this going to mean for the clubs that were involved in this breakaway, particularly the Premier League clubs, the relationship with the fans, the relationship the players have with the owners of these clubs? What state is this going to leave the Premier League in?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. You'd have to say, obviously, there's going to be repercussions, I'd have to say, in terms of these 6 clubs going a bit rogue and trying to join this league. And with the fans, it might take some time to kind of repair the damage that's been done. But the fact that they've come to, hopefully, all of them will come to the right decision, eventually they'll get them back on side. I mean, no one, if you've been supporting a team for, I don't know, however long you've been supporting, you've been involved with football, how much you love football, you're going to get back on side. So go down there, support your clubs, and obviously when fans are allowed back in stadium. But it kind of just shows, to be fair, and hopefully it's showing these owners, that's probably one thing, is that they can't go rogue and make decisions on their own and think that they can just get away with it. Doesn't matter how much money they've got. We understand that, obviously, at the top of the major competitions, it's all about money. But I think for the owners that own these traditional football clubs, like Liverpool's and United, these proper, historic football clubs, it doesn't really matter how big your chequebook is. If you think you can just go and do something on your own, and there won't be backlash from the fans, because it seems like the players, they were getting on board. We heard Jurgen Klopp's comments last night. They can't just do that. So that's shown now that football's not just all about money now. It's about a community. It's about, as I said, everybody involved. So if anything, it's kind of a positive and showing these owners that they just can't do that.
And Jamie, do you think, to an extent, I know you're watching a game, you're second of the night, I'm asking you to multitask even further now here, but do you think maybe the owners of the clubs that were going to break away had underestimated the voice of the fans, the voice of the players and the voice of the managers?
I mean, if they did, I find that so naive from them, because you would have thought that someone... You're talking about people who've got a lot of money now. Having a lot of money comes with great responsibility, and also you'd like to think that they're extremely intelligent. You would like to think, clearly, wouldn't they have some sort of poll pre-breakaway to think, what is the backlash going to be? Now, if the backlash is... I knew the backlash would be as big as we all did. I've not seen one person supporting it within football or a fan within football. Wouldn't you like... vet it out and see what the reaction's going to be for your club to do that, to see what the reaction is, and then stay behind it.
Yeah, but the decision makers are non-football people. Yeah. They're driven by the finances, and they do their best to work for their football clubs to get enough money, and they're right to do that, but not at the expense of the game.
Yeah. And now what's brilliant about that is, totally agreed, they've done it without that in mind at all, clearly, because they haven't even asked about it in the first place. But now it's been shown you can't just do that, because look at the backlash, and now they've pulled away from it, seemingly on the back of the backlash in the last 24 hours, which us being in the game and people who love the game themselves, we all knew that was going to be the backlash, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It seems ridiculously naive to think that they didn't know that that was going to come.
Yeah.
They've done it and they've pulled out, and it shows, like Darren says, there's a massive collective that comes together in football to show what we actually want in this country, and now it's being shown. And now I think, obviously, the other clubs are going to have to follow suit, because what is it now?
I wonder what the backlash is in other countries. Lenny's absolutely right. Without PSG, without Bayern Munich, it cannot be a Super League. You know, but without the Premier League teams, it's not a Super League. Without Man City, without Chelsea now,
100%.
and a lot more will follow. Looks like Manchester United will have to follow suit now with Ed Woodward stepping down. I think without the Premier League teams, it's a non-starter anyway. So I just hope that it wasn't our teams who was driving it forward.
Well, you asked about the implications in Europe. Another report we're just receiving now, we mentioned Ed Woodward has apparently stepped down as executive vice chairman of Manchester United. Another of the big drivers in Italy was Andrea Agnelli at Juventus, and we're hearing he has left Juventus as well tonight. That's just coming through to me now. Again, that's a report that we've just received. So it does seem to be tumbling down, doesn't it? I mean, the one thing to say, you know, as we wait to see how this unfolds over the next 24 hours, Darren, you know, we heard one unnamed official at one of the 6 Premier League clubs earlier, telling Sky Sports News, unnamed, that UEFA, as a governing body, are not listening to the clubs and are monopolising competitive football. Now, we might take issue with the way they went about what they wanted to achieve here, but do you agree at all with the intent to challenge and change the status quo of European football as it is now? Does it need changing?
I don't think it needs changing. And again, I think greed has played its part. But if you're talking about European football, it was perfect as it was. And you could, as I said, you could tell from the fans and the players that how much it meant to them. Champions League, even the Europa, because that's not even been mentioned, to be fair, the Europa, because the knock-on effect it had on that tournament. So, as I said, football has prevailed, but the fact that obviously someone's trying to change a product or completely replace a product, it just doesn't happen like that. As I said, it doesn't really matter. The guys at the top of the tree with all the money, doesn't really matter if they want to change the Champions League or they feel they can kind of oust it. It was never ever going to happen, because you need everyone on board. And as Jamie was saying there, 99% of people, even in football, out of football, didn't agree with this decision. So, as I said, hopefully they can come to the right one.